Hey everyone, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop. Today we're finally starting the Duchess of Kingston. Technically, I think we're just starting a royal barge for the Duchess of Kingston, and I don't know that the ship has an actual name yet that I'm aware of, but for the purposes of this build and everything, we're going to refer to it as the Duchess of Kingston, or for short, the Duchess. All right, so quick history here for you Patreon folks. I have built several wooden ship kits over the years. All of them were way before I had anything to do with YouTube. They may have actually been before YouTube was a thing. So it's been a long time since I've done one. But I love wooden ship kits. The reason is the medium. One, I like woodworking, and two, to build a model of the real thing out of the real materials, to me that's as close as you can possibly get. One of the things that I struggled with was the quality of the kits back then were not very good, so it took a lot longer to do just your basic steps. The other thing that I didn't like was back then, the rigging was essentially just string and thread, and then that's what you had to work with. Some of the thicker stuff may have been braided, you know, looked a little bit more like rope, but generally speaking it was difficult to work with. There were kinks in it because of the way they wrapped it, and just was no fun. That has all improved big time in the years since, and so we're going to try and incorporate all this stuff into this kit. This kit is by Vanguard Models out of the UK. As far as I could tell, they're one of the highest quality wooden ship kits that you can get these days, and it goes together extremely easily. So what we're going to do today is put together the false keel, assemble the bulkheads, get the transom or the rear end of the ship basically set up and established. One of the inner decks will be installed, and then our initial decking will go in for the front part, the forecastle, the front part of the ship basically, to help define and keep everything locked together. I'm going to address some of the specific issues, and we're going to deviate from the instructions a little bit, specifically when it comes to fairing the bulkheads to put your initial curve and shape of the ship together. We're going to do a few things a little bit differently from the instruction manual. Again, the instruction manual is available online. Go to vanguardmodels.com.uk.co. Sorry, I don't have the address memorized, but Google Vanguard Models and it'll come up. And you can get a PDF version for free of the model instructions to any of the ships that they sell on there. And yeah, that's it. I'm excited about this. I hope all of you patrons enjoy this build series. I'm enjoying it. It may be a minute before I get to another video on this because we have to continue on our other build. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, hopefully a sign of things to come. I just snapped this together. They're not glued. I had to do a little bit of sanding. But it went together tight. Here's my little machinist square, and I'm impressed. I mean, it's just a stand. It doesn't need to be perfect, but hopefully, yeah, hopefully this is the way it's going to work.
What part of the ship is that?
It's the stand. All right, pressing on. All right, here we go. We're beginning the very first actual two pieces that need to be glued together on the ship. This is our false keel. It's perfectly straight. I'm super impressed. And then this is a piece that goes in to right here for the main center mast to hold it in place. But before we do that, we're going to do something not in the instructions and completely unnecessary, but I want to anyway. I'm going to zoom in right there. I'm going to take this little drill bit, and we're going to drill a little hole right here. Just a little bit. All right. Yeah. That's good right there. And we'll be right back. There we go. Okay. All right, Nora's here. She's participating.
I'm here for comic relief.
All right, so there's that little hole, and here's my paintbrush, and I'm going to put a dab of gold paint in here. I'm going to try and fill it with gold.
Why does it have to be gold?
Why does it have to be gold? What am I doing?
I have no idea.
Yeah, why would
That's why I'm asking questions.
Why would I do that?
I thought for sure you were saying, I'm going to put in a dab of glue, because everything is glue.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should just put it out here. So here's the deal. I read a long time ago in maritime history that it was good luck and a good omen before you seated the mast of a ship to put a gold coin in the base where the mast sits.
That sounds made up.
It's not made up. And I don't have a gold coin. And when this thing's all together, and we're not going to be able to do that later.
So this is symbolic.
It's very symbolic. That's why I put that little drop of gold right there so everybody could see it. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to install our first piece. 1 second. Okay, we're back.
Well, let's get something clear.
And and while we're getting things clear, we're going to go ahead and install our first piece.
Okay.
Like this, and it clicks in like so. And it's nice and tight, and then we don't want to get any glue in there where the gold is at. Huh? It's there.
I said it didn't look straight to me.
Oh.
Is it supposed to be? Like level?
No.
Oh.
It tips back slightly.
Well, that just figures.
It does, doesn't it? And we're going to put a little glue around the edge there.
I thought what I was doing was really value added, Ben. Come on now.
All right, hang on a second.
So, yeah, I've lost my train of thought. Oh, so way to dazzle me with your coin business and make me seem uninformed. And the reason I was uninformed...
Nobody knew this.
I was uninformed about this coin business is because I've been too busy taking Rope 101 for the last, I don't know, month and a half. It's been all about ropes.
That's all right.
Ropes this,
I'm very
ropes that.
familiar with Shoes 101 for years and years.
No, don't be silly. You know it's bags.
All right, so there we go. There's our first piece installed. I'm going to stop recording so Nora and I can continue this in-depth conversation.
If I had $1 for every time you talked about or showed me a rope, don't you dare. Don't you dare. I'd be somewhere warm right now, sipping something cold and fruity with all my dollars.
Okay, moving along here. The instructions now have you move pieces 1, 2, and 3, get them out, and what they want you to do is mark a bevel. Come in with a pencil and, draw a line like this. And then what they want you to do is sand from this edge on the back to your line to put a bevel on this piece. And they want you to do it ahead of time because you're beginning to establish the curve or the fairing of the ship's lines. So here's the deal. In this particular kit, for whatever reason, they don't tell you exactly how far in to do that. They just say take a little bit off. Don't do too much though. And I think this is in an effort to save time as you move forward. I have just enough shipbuilding experience to know that I don't want to do this right now. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and install these parts on the false keel, and once they're installed, I'll then begin fairing them with an electric tool and sander. And I'm also planning on filling in several key areas with probably balsa wood as a filler, maybe basswood. I'll see what I can get my hands on to help with the fairing and shaping of the ship. I would rather not move enough and have to deal with removing wood later down the road than discovering that I've removed too much, because I have done that in the past. I've removed too much and then I end up gluing a strip back on here to add thickness back, waiting for it to dry, and then re-sanding it again to get the right depth. So we're going to press on with go ahead and getting these installed. All right, so here's our first piece, and they tell you in the instructions don't put glue down in here, or if you do, put a very small amount because you want to ensure that it fits right, and it slides in very tight and very nice, and it's almost square, almost perfectly square. We'll sort that little bit of an indiscretion up down the road here, but it's close enough to not fuss over. And as you can see, because I did not fair it yet there's a little bit of an edge right there, and that's fine because, so this is what I was talking about. I want this piece of, this forward edge fared out should meet flush with right here. Let me make sure, making sense, right? So my line would be like that. Literally, that's all we would be taking off. And then coming up, and then as we got up to the top here, I need this fared edge to follow the shape of the deck. And I don't have that in yet. So I would rather, so if I had fared as much as they showed in the pictures, it would have probably have been too much, is what I'm getting at here. I'd rather remove the wood after the fact. So now that we've talked about all that, I'm going to go ahead and they want you to glue in the first several of these pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll come back. Press on. Okay, actually we're going to have Nora do this part because I didn't realize, I pulled the frames out.
You realize how simple it was?
Yes, and they don't get glued in yet. They just get slotted in. So they're numbered, they're stacked. That's number 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And Nora's going to go ahead and put these in. So let's grab this one, and it goes in that slot right there.
Oh, I can't move it. I forgot. Okay, right here?
Yeah, you can move it a little bit if you want to, but it just drops right down in. And you push it all the way down, yep, till it's nice and flush with the top right there.
Okay.
And then do the next one that goes right here. This is a mast opening. And I'm showing all this because it's satisfying. And
because even your wife can do it. Is that bad?
No. Just double check there. It might be a little tight. It's satisfying and they get a lot done.
I've already encountered a problem. Okay.
There you go. It's just snug.
Wow, these are amazing how they fit together.
Yep.
Remember I built that crummy dollhouse with pieces like this, but they weren't like this?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't think
what?
We have something correct there at all.
What do you mean?
I think that one's in the wrong spot.
Okay. Or wait, maybe it didn't go down all the way?
Yeah, I think that's it. See how much higher it is than all this?
Oh. Hold on.
Hold
on.
Misidentified
oh, wait,
something here.
No. It's just stuck a little bit right there. You see it?
Mm-hmm. If you want, pull it out and we'll sand it a little bit. See, there's that nub right there? Pull that out.
Damn nub.
Right there. And grab that piece of sandpaper, or that file, yeah, and get rid of that.
This?
A little edge right there. Yep, we're going to zoom in.
Oh my God. I can't believe you're letting me do this.
Or you could take a piece of sandpaper and just... So these are, the tolerances are tight.
Yeah, they are.
And it's fantastic because I have assembled ships before where all of this is loosey-goosey, and it is a mess. Every single bulkhead takes a half hour to position.
Hey,
there we go. Now we're
it.
talking. To half hour to position, and I don't want to spend my life trying to get these things to go in the right place.
Me neither. Right here?
Yep.
Wow, this is really cool.
This one goes right
I know it's
there.
not all this easy though.
No, there's a bunch of stuff we got to do after this, but since these just need to be locked in, there
wow.
you go. All right, now we've got the general shape of the hull.
Look at that. Like it's like perfectly aligned.
It is. And turn it a little bit. I want to show people. Look how straight this keel is. That's typically a big problem, and we do not
like
have that problem here. Yeah.
Or like
because we're going to have these supports that go in next to lock everything together and get it square, and then I'll come back in and add glue. This is really awesome.
Okay, don't get excited because I'm not going to be here to do everything.
Well, that's all right. Okay, we'll press on. Good job, wife. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pulled out and prepped the other bulkheads that are supposed to be installed. All of these get dropped in, and to help square them up, because I've noticed they're not, well, I don't know if you can tell, they're not perfectly square. Part of that has to do with just the way the laser, the angle of the laser cut, and who knows whatever else. But they're really, really close to being exactly how we want it. And the designer, Chris, good guy, took all this into consideration here. Gotta get this one to drop all the way in. We're gonna be putting some straighteners in just a minute here, which is why you're not supposed to glue these yet, and that is to help shore up the part. I think I'm all the way down. No, I can't be. To shore up the part and get everything into position. Actually, I gotta check this. So I'm dropping this piece all the way down and it's stopping on me, and I can't tell, it fits so tight I can't tell if it's going down all the way. So I'm gonna put a mark like that right here just so I could see. I know where the edge is here. I'll put another mark. That's the bottom. I'm gonna see if they're mating up. And they are. They are mating up. So that little lip right there is supposed to be there. All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, yeah, so we're just going to drop all these in here. And again, I have not beveled, probably contrary to popular belief and definitely flying in the face of the instructions, I've not beveled the edges yet. I'm going to do that at the end. But I may do an initial beveling of this front support up on the bow. I'll talk about that in a second here. Okay, so there we go. I mean, am I zoomed out all the way? Yeah. This is the whole thing with all the frames dropped in. Pretty nifty. They're a little crooked, but that's okay. Because so next we have these bow pieces, and there's a little part you glue in right here to hold the mast in position. But this drops in up in the front here on the inside, and the idea is it's starting to help shore up and straighten out these bulkheads. But right here, it leaves a definitive edge for the rabbet, and I need this rabbet for terminating my first layer of planking. And so they do want you to bevel this piece that I dropped in right here back, right along here and on the bottom here. The bottom is actually pretty easy. I'm going to follow this kerf right here. Let me make sure I'm zoomed in so you can see. I'll come from here to there, right? We'll draw a line like this, and I'll eliminate all this material from this line to that corner, and that'll take care of that beveled edge. At least initially, I'm comfortable doing that, and then we could do the same from here to right there. This is going to bevel a little bit. We're going to lose some of this, so it should actually be higher up. We could cheat it in a little. I'm okay taking a little bit of that off right now. Not very much on the front though, because in the front it actually meets right here, and yeah, we're going to lose a little bit, but oh man, I'll probably take off, I'll probably do like this much. Hopefully you can see that line. I'm willing to take that much off on both sides here. Then we'll drop these in, and then we'll square everything up, and once we're happy with how they're squared, we'll come back and apply glue. And there's a bunch of other straight pieces that run through this whole thing. So hopefully, I hope that all makes sense. Let me get some stuff shaped here and we'll press on. Okay, I've done some preliminary beveling right here that I'm mostly happy with. It's really important. I say mostly, I'm not totally proud of myself here. Maybe this is the way to do it. You want to try to make sure that they are the same angle. And as you can see, this one on the right is not. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and match these up just a little bit. That's really important that we get the same size rabbet along the bow right here to seat things and match up. So let me straighten this out real quick and then we're going to glue these in. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how all that turned out. So the instruction says okay to put a little glue back down in here and fix these into position. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. If you've never built a ship like this before, a wooden ship, it's kind of a lot like building a house, right? If you spend the time to frame up a room and get everything straight and square and the way that it's supposed to be, when you put the drywall on, the drywall will go on super easily and you'll have nice straight walls and good joints and seams and, you know, no trouble. And because the drywall went on nice and straight with no issues, we are checking that this is flush up here in the top because I want my deck to sit right. But once the drywall's on nicely the way that you want, what will then happen is when you go to put your trim up, you won't have any trouble with the trim. The trim will look really nice. Also, when you go to, wow, that's a lot of glue. When you go to paint your drywall, you're not going to have any problems there either, right? So very early on in a wooden ship build, take the time to get everything squared up and be anal about it. It's worth it, and that's an area we're slowing down in. But it's also, it can come across as being a little bit frustrating because you want to move on with your build, or at least I do. And so that's why I'm happy with this kit from Vanguard, because everything fits so tight and snug. The tolerances are really there. It makes it easy to get to the point where things are square and fitting nicely. And then this MDF, while some people may not care for that, it's cheap, keeps the material cost down, and it's really easy to sand and work. So once we have things the way that we want here, if I need to adjust something or sand something, that's really easy to do, right? That's the idea there. Okay, pressing on. All right, next we have these stretchers that go from bow to stern. Again, the instructions want you to bevel this edge, and I'm not going to do that. We're going to wait until later on. This is a tricky piece to install. Well, it can be, because all of your frames are not exactly straight, and this is what the purpose is. And this is why we don't glue everything in right away yet. The other issue is you want to get this thing all the way down and flush with each part. So like right here, I could see I've got a gap right there. I hope you can make that out. I'm going to push this frame out of the way, start working it down. So anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to keep pushing this down and come back with it installed. Actually, I'll come back with both of them installed. We'll have both on each side. Okay, both of those center pieces are in. I actually had trouble getting them to drop down, and I found the solution, because these are out of plumb, was to put the other side in. That actually helped bring things back in straight. It's not perfectly lined up the way that I want yet, but we're getting there. And so to kind of evaluate where everything is, I'm going to go ahead and get the next outboard ones installed as well and see what they do. If we eyeball down the keel, turn it so you guys can eyeball down it. There you go. You see we got a slight bend right about here. We turn at the stern. This should come back to your left just a hair. So I'm going to see, none of this is glued in except for these two pieces up in the front, which have kind of locked in our #1 frame. So I'm going to get the next ones out. I'm going to get it dropped in. We'll come back, same thing. You just drop it in and see about how it lines things up and what I may or may not have to do to adjust the squareness. That's very important that we get these things perpendicular to each other. And we want the false keel to be straight. Once that's sorted out, then we'll go ahead and we'll add glue in between kind of to lock things in. I do want to put wooden blocks, filler blocks in, especially along the bow. And wooden filler blocks may also fix our left and right problem that we may be having here. We'll see. So let me go ahead and get these set because once this is squared up, the next part is just dropping pieces in the back of the transom right here to get that shape done. That's all moot right now until we get this whole thing plumbed up. So pressing on. Okay, update with where we are at. I pulled every single one of these frames out and discovered that a little bit down inside of each one of these, either the frames or a little chunk of my false keel was cut just a hair out of square. So I got my file out and I went ahead and filed down each one of these, which the MDF, which was really easy to do. Just took a couple minutes, and I dropped them back in, and I used my little machinist square. I started at the bow because unfortunately the first two, since I glued these sides in, 1 and 2, you can't adjust. So I recommend squaring them up first. Those of you who follow after me, put this in and glue it in and square it up, and then come back and drop these parts in. So I squared up every one of these, and I used a little bit of CA glue to glue them in, and what I've got is a perfectly straight keel and almost exactly at 90 degrees, or very, very close enough for what we're doing here, a frame. So then I went ahead and took my additional straightening pieces out and I dropped them in. And even with these in, I ended up with a keel back here going like that on me, about that far. So that means something is out of plumb with these little slots right here. So I'm going to go back now with my file and I'm going to square up these, and I could see it's cut. It's like it was laying down like this, and when the laser beam shot down, it was just a hair out of square for some reason, is what I'm suspecting happened. So I'm going to plumb up these slots and then put them back into position. And my goal is to have everything seated so that the all the tops are flush here with one another. That's very important for the deck. And I know these are at 90 degrees, so I just need my keel, my false keel, to stay straight, just like that. As long as it stays straight and these are flush, we're good to go. And then I can put some glue in to lock everything in place. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and file these now. Like if let's see if I can show you. If you look closely there, I think you can see that's out of square, this slot. It's up on the left and down on the right, this top piece. And so I need to come back here at an angle and take just a little bit off. And it's going quickly, and then this will drop in, it'll be no trouble. I do want to comment though that after I plumbed all these up, these pieces dropped in very easily. They went very close to exactly where they need to be. So excellent engineering. We're just a hair out of square, and it'll go right together. And again, take the time now to do all of this, and this has gone quickly. I've probably got an hour of work into this right here. But take the time now to get all of this squared up and straight. You will be kicking yourself later on if you don't. All right, pressing on. Okay, we're back. I have all of our little parts in so far, and as you can see, we're basically square, and I've glued with a little bit of CA glue and then some Tight Bond. The original stuff here, wood glue, sets up pretty fast. This is just for interior use only. It's not planning on doing anything crazy with this. But as you can see, it's nice and straight. And my false keel is nice and straight. I mean, there might be the tiniest little bend in it, but I mean, who cares? And that's going to get fixed. Like, it'll flex just the tiniest bit. I'm going to install wooden blocks in between, maybe not all of them, but definitely in the back between the frames. Up here in the front, I'll probably cut this little piece off once we're all set and dried up, so I can get more of my pieces of wood in there, and that will help me fare out the ship. And then when I lay my planking on, it's super easy. When I was younger, I used to think this was cheating because my very first ship that I built, I put my first layer of planking directly on these frames only. There were no filler blocks in it. It was fine. It actually turned out really nice. I had no trouble at all. It is possible to do it that way, but we're all about ease here and moving along, and so it is worth taking the time to cut very precisely shaped blocks that are square, that will fit in between these frames, that later will get sanded to match the same curve and fairing lines of the ship, so that when you lay your first layer of planking down, you have a wonderful positive area to glue to and clamp to and not have any troubles. That's important. So I'm going to let this set up just a little bit here, and then the only thing left to do according to the instructions is put in these transom pieces. It's basically the same type of thing, but we'll define the area and the aft end of the ship. If we look at the instructions, that's going to be right here. So they've said go ahead and glue, and I've glued. So we'll get these pieces out, and we'll go ahead and drop them in place. This is page 9 of the manual, which again is available as a digital download. Just go to Vanguard.com, VanguardModels.com, and check it out. And then, oh man, we've got to do all this cool stuff. And they've got some additional pieces here that we're going to put in place. This might fix my slight little bend that I have for the cabin. We'll see. There's all these little, because this area right here in the instructions, that's this part of the ship. I've got this big kind of gap here, and it is providing, that is where my wiggle's coming from a little bit. So yes, that's all I have to say about that. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get these transom pieces dropped in next. Okay, here we are at the back of the transom. I'm going to just drop a little bit of glue in here. I've got our pieces prepped. As you can see, they're very complicated in terms of which one goes where. So that's the inner one, and it drops right in. And again, we're checking to make sure that it's flush up here with the deck. This will be the deck, and we'll sand it a little bit, to make sure everything's nice and tight. But you've got your two inner pieces, and I test fitted all of these in advance just to make sure nothing crazy was going to happen. Again, this one says inner. We'll have that face to the outside for consistency, and drop it into position, and it works nice. Kits that I built in the past when I was younger, you had to use your head a little bit more. They didn't say middle for the middle one. It just, they may have been numbered if you were lucky, but generally it was like you just kind of had to pay attention. And they definitely did not fit this well. It was loose, man, and technology was different back then. They were still laser cut, but lasers were really, really expensive, and I don't know that they necessarily had the computers definitely were not as well refined as they are today. The design technology just was different back then. And of course, this is the outer one. It says outer, so we'll drop the outer one here into position. all the way down. That's very important. It is locked. It is locked in there by dropping it down like that. So then we have our last one over here. We'll put some glue on this face. And back in here, it's important that this all locks in together. There's going to be quite a bit of load on this bulkhead. So I like that Chris designed it to tie in tightly. There we go. You know, a lot of surface area here to contact to hold this and keep it from shifting. Okay, so this is the back of the ship. I'll tip up here and hold this further away, like so. And it looks nice. Now, an area that will be complicated that we're going to work on, I think maybe in a minute here. I have to put, there's a couple pieces that go up in here, but this is always a difficult area to frame because the frame's going to come around and make almost a 90-degree turn right here. And we have to fill this space, and that's what these holes are about. Some pieces are provided to go in there that will shape to basically fill this whole area in so that we have a big positive glue space here for our planks when they get installed. All right, pressing on. Okay, I installed a couple of pieces right in here. They're just part of the decking, and the next step in the instructions is actually to install this piece of decking. It drops in like this and laser cut and looks very nice on the inside. I checked, and lo and behold, it touches all sides, all points, no problemo, just fine, which is going to make installing it very, very easy. So what I'm going to do is get out my wood glue, and I'll just put a little bit on these outside spots here, and we'll put a little clampage on them. But I'm also going to put a pretty heavy dose of CA glue right in the middle to kind of accelerate holding it into position while this glue sets up. I like, if you use a thin amount of this tight bond, and by thin I mean don't have it glopped on, have it thinned out. It dries pretty fast. Within 3 to 4 minutes you're going to have enough contact that you don't really need to worry about anything. But you need to have it thinned out. You also can heat it once it's applied. Put some heat on this with a heat gun or your soldering iron or what have you, and it'll set up almost instantaneously. I'll put a dollop of CA glue right here in the middle just to encourage this to move along. I'll drop this down. That's it. I'll push it down. I'll stick a couple clamps, 4 clamps on here. Got some clamps. We'll just do this real quick to help aid in the moved on me. Keep things where I want while this thing sets up. Double check this one. Which one moved? This one moved on me. All right. And so from the bottom, you can see that we're all flush and sitting down where we need to be. And yeah, we'll give that a little bit of time to set up. And then while that's setting up, we're going to pull out our first bottom deck piece that drops on right here. I'm going to get that cut out, and we're going to see about getting it installed. Okay, so here's our foredeck template, and it says top. That goes up on the top. It kind of clips in to the bulkheads here, and I get the impression that you need to bend it like this to get it to snap in. The instructions also imply that you get to do this once. I don't know that really, my dry fitting tests have gone okay. What I ended up doing was trimming just the tiniest bit off the back, and then each of these little openings I trimmed just to widen a little bit. This is a very important piece. It establishes the shape of these little bulkheads here and how we get it all ferret out, and it's a big deal. Also, this is kind of a funny shaped piece in that it curves this way, and then it also curves this way. Yes, very interesting. So I'm probably just gonna skip along here and make this work, but I'm gonna start by applying some glue to the middle of everything. Not too worried about the outside edges because they clip. It clearly clips underneath the I forget what the words are, these little bulkheads here. It's going to clip into position, and it's not going to go anywhere. So really the key right now is just get enough glue kind of in the middle. It should lay flat. Yeah, I could sand all this. That's probably a good idea. Honestly, do your own self-evaluation when you get to this point. I think that we did a good enough job leveling everything when I installed all this that I don't think we're going to have any issues. I think it's going to be fine. I do question how much glue I put on here, though. I think we're going to need a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and get all that done. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start to try to do this here. And the instructions imply that you can just bend it like in half, kind of fold it up a little bit like a taco and get it to go in, but I don't know if that's going to work without getting pretty serious here. There we go. So yeah, I'm having to be pretty aggressive to get it under the lips of the stanchions here. Okay. Well, I hope these are deep enough. So there's little, they're cut right in here to slide into these notches. And right now it's kind of in place, but I've got a big, whoops, I snapped off one of my bulkheads here, not good. I've got some height here. It's arched quite a bit. Looks like part of that maybe I just don't have it down all the way. There we go. I just pushed it in the middle here. I just got some good contact. And actually, yeah, that's it. Okay. It just went down. Just like that. All right. Nice. And I only busted one of my stanchions a little bit there. Okay. Good deal. All right. I apologize if I just block the camera there for a minute, but this is like difficult to do. So we could get some rubber bands and run them around here to like help pull this down if you need to. I'm not having that issue though. I'm surprised. I'm looking at the bottom and I've got good contact all along. So this is making me happy here. I'm just gonna keep kind of pushing it down, helping that glue grab. Looks like we got a little dinged up right here. Oh, little chip. But otherwise, we're looking pretty good. And I'll repair this little piece that busted right there. All right. Okay, let me finish this up, and I'm going to come back to you with thoughts and comments about the next step. Okay, here we are. It has been such a good day of building that I killed the battery in all my regular microphones, and I'm using the one in the camera. So hopefully you can hear me all right. We've got our... I'm going to stop here for the day. We'll come back next time and press on with the next deck that goes up on here, a bunch of the filler pieces, and then we'll worry about shaping the hull. Why I wanted to get to this point has to do with fairing these posts. So as you can see from right here, we have a curve now on the deck. This post needs to follow that curve, and now I know exactly how much to take off to get the shape right. And that fairing line will transition down here to the hull. It won't be exact, but it'll be close. And what I'll end up doing is laying a strip across your wood as a fake plank as I start shaping this, to make sure that I don't take off too much, to try and give myself a really good reference point. And then we'll fill in. There's some more pieces that gotta go up here, but we'll end up filling all of this in and making the shape so that we want, and leaving our rabbet joint, but coming off of here and coming around so that our round hull is the shape that we want. That's why I'm doing it like this. Now there are kits out there that they have figured out, and in the plans it will tell you exactly how far in to come to fair this, so you could go from the back edge to their line, and they figured that out. But in this kit they didn't do it for you, and I don't want to guess, so this is we'll talk through that next time. We did put these two pieces, part 25, in just to, I don't know, it's part of the bulkhead here. They have you put that in place. But anyway, that's it. Folks, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you like this video. Feel free to tell your friends about it. We'll continue this build on Patreon. And yeah, see you next time.